Hello and bonjour, this is Sarah Bukhari and you're watching Power Dilemmas here at TAG TV with me. Folks, you want to know about PCPO leadership. The Ford Nation got it. Doug Ford took the PCPO leadership by a thin margin and prevailed. Doug Ford, a former Toronto City Councillor and brother of Mayor Rob Ford, captured Ontario's progressive conservative leadership in a stunning come-from-behind win late Saturday night, March the 10th. Shortly after 10 p.m., hours behind schedule, the party announced that Mr. Ford won on the third ballot, narrowly defeating former Tory MPP Christine Elliott. But in a statement just after midnight, Ms. Elliott said that she would not concede after her campaign was made aware of serious irregularities with respect to this leadership race. According to her campaign, Ms. Elliott won the popular vote and the majority of ridings in the race. However, they claim that she lost after thousands of the party's members were assigned to the wrong ridings after they voted online. Within 24 hours, however, Christine Elliott, the major contender in the PCPO leadership race, vowed to run as MPP under Doug Ford and proved the uniting force of Doug Ford. Doug Ford, as leader of the Progressive Conservative Party, is a uniting force who will unite all Conservatives in Ontario under one big blue tent, said one of the party supporters. In total, 64,053 ballots were cast in the race by the party's nearly 190,000 members. Because of the short turnaround in the race, the party opted to use an online voting system that it had not tried before. The system required each digital ballot to be printed out and scanned by a party volunteer. The leader was not elected by the total vote, but by points allocated to each riding. To help make sure that a candidate could win votes across Ontario, the party allocated 100 points to each of the province's 124 ridings. A number of the province's ridings didn't have 100 voters, so each ballot was given the weight of a single point. I have with me Mr. Giorgio Mammoluti. He is a councillor in Toronto, and we are going to talk about him about Ford Nation's win. Hello, Giorgio. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much for having me on.
Awesome. So,
you're all right as well.
Great. So, Giorgio, how did Doug win the PCPO race? And I know it's an open-ended question, so you want to take your time.
Well, I think I don't really need to take my time. I think most people would know that over the last 10 years or so, maybe a little bit more, elections have been won at a grassroots level. If you look just south of us to the States, and you look how the former president won, it was a grassroots campaign. If you look at Doug's brother Rob and how he won, he started out in basements, meeting with people over a couple of years, and eventually had all the support around the whole city. It's a grassroots campaign that won that election, and it's a grassroots campaign that won for Doug as well. Many of us were involved with that grassroots campaign, and I saw it firsthand.
Yeah, good. So it is basically a grassroots kind of a campaign which Doug Ford followed, right?
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that the phone calls, the handshaking, the meetings in people's basements, the simple trips to the grocery store and plazas and bus stops, and that's how Doug did it.
Yeah, I think he got it from his late brother Rob Ford, who was very popular among all kinds of people in Toronto.
He was a master at that, actually. Rob is the one, I think, that introduced it to any Canadian, and I think that was loud and clear.
So, Giorgio, there was a delay in announcing the results on the PCPO convention. Why did that happen?
Well, we all speculate, right? I mean, those of us that were on the floor were speculating in terms of what could have been. The reality is there was a divide, and we all knew it. And when there's a divide, you speculate, and you at times jump to conclusions that some may or may not agree. On the floor, we all thought that there must have been something going on, because Doug was always up. He was always running up the hill with this race, and he had everyone to beat, including many in the party itself. And so we all speculated. We thought, maybe there was an attempt to find an excuse. We knew that he'd won, because we knew it was going to be close. But those of us that saw what was happening on the floor felt that they should have announced it as soon as they knew, instead of perhaps any recounts or any appeals that had been played out in the back room. We should have been told. But at the end of the day, it almost makes sense to hear why they couldn't tell us, and that was because there was an appeal, and it was a technical appeal, and it's hard to give information when that happens. So the important thing right now is that everybody's under that blue tent, and that for guys like myself, that I think is the most important part of this equation. Yeah,
exactly. That means everything that ends well is well, and everyone is now under that big blue tent, and Doug is a uniting force. So one of the mayors in Tecumseh, Gary McNamara, he held that election of Doug Ford as PC leader offers Ontario only Toronto-centric options. What is your take on this?
There's not much I could say about that, except, those that did help, we appreciate very much. Those that didn't help and that were opposing us, we want to be able to win them over, and Doug wants to do that. So the best I could say to you is, let's just all be united and win the province at this particular time, because now the big job is at stake, and we need to get Doug onto being the premier of this province. And so that's my biggest objective, and I think most people that want to help will want to do the same thing.
So Doug is very famous in Toronto, the GTA, because he also wanted to run for mayor. How much, what kind of popularity he enjoys in the North or the 905 areas?
Well, the wonderful thing about Doug is that, when you actually meet him, he's almost like a teddy bear. You wanna hug him, and you want to get to know him a little more. And I think that this election to become the leader of the party has introduced him to parts of this province that didn't know him. And I think if you ask the people that did meet him after that, they'll tell you that they are comfortable with him. More importantly, they're comfortable with his policies that he's trying to drive home. And he's convincing people that he's the person for their little town or their little village in this province, and I think he's got more support outside of Toronto than he has in Toronto at this particular time.
Okay, so now you're just mentioning Doug's policies. What is Doug's general platform?
Well, I think you've heard some of it already. He's adamant about a few things, but certainly reversing some of the decisions that Kathleen Wynne has made are going to be looked at. But he is more inclined now to look at how we spend money at a provincial level and do a better job of it. And if that means revisiting some of those policies and looking at how we spend money in different ministries and departments, then that's what he's going to do. His view on our educational platform. He's very clear about bringing the discussion back to the parents and reversing the decisions that Kathleen Wynne's made on our education system. So that's clear to me. It's about consultation, and that should have been the case right from the beginning.
Okay, we will be talking more about his policy in our next interview, but at this time, just to start, because he's just this is the first week he is the leader of the PCPO, and he is geared towards winning the June election. So how is he going to win the June provincial elections?
by being himself and by being the person that he's always been. We don't want him to change. We don't want him to be anybody different. We want him to bring that fiscal argument home, and that's what we want. We want economics to be a part of this discussion, and not just social spending. And if he does that, he will be the premier of this province after June the 7th. Okay, so Giorgio, while congratulating Doug Ford on his victory, Kathleen Wayne, the Premier of Ontario, said she wishes Doug well. Even though we disagree about many things, I welcome him to provincial politics, and I unquote. And she believes that not a lot has changed as far as the PCPO is concerned. What do you think? Is Kathleen Wayne feeling a little threatened by Doug Ford being the leader of the PCPO? If she doesn't feel threatened now, she will be in no time at all. Give him his place in question period. Give him his place in his office. Let him get used to that chair and everything around him. And I assure you, if she's not threatened now, she will be once he gets used to Queen's Park. Awesome. Any message you want to give to our viewers, Giorgio, about Doug Ford and PCPO today? There is hope in this province, and I know that a lot of people are struggling and can't afford their hydro bills and can't afford their property taxes, but I want to assure people that with Doug at the helm, he will make life a lot more comfortable for people that are finding themselves in a very difficult position right now. Okay, great. Giorgio, it was very good to talk to you today, and we will catch up with you later. Thanks. Thank you so much. Thanks. Bye-bye. And that was Giorgio Mamaluti. He's a councillor in Toronto. We will be talking a little bit more about other issues. Let's take a quick break.
If you need to protect your family or business with life and health insurance, save for your retirement and children's education, or need mortgage advice, we can help. To set up your complimentary meeting, call Zahid Sayed at 905-624-0008 or visit urujfinancial.com.
PABS Promo has become the largest suppliers of promotional products in Canada. If you're looking to get your business to the next level, then look no further and call 416-710-6777 or visit pabspromo.com. Products we provide with your logo, teardrop flags, tents and banners, t-shirts and golf shirts with logo, pens, air fresheners and keychains.
Welcome back. Folks, you're watching Power Dilemmas with Sarah Bukhari at TAC TV. Before the break, we were interviewing Councillor Giorgio Mamaluti on Doug Ford's win for the leadership of PCPO. Let's take you all to what's happening in South Asia, Pakistan, particularly Pakistan. Asma Jahangir, a renowned lawyer, died a few weeks ago. Asma Jahangir was a survivor for women's rights in Pakistan. She stood against Pakistan's blasphemy laws and Hudud ordinances, which is kind of an act and which kind of mars the rights of women in Pakistan. Asma Jahangir recently died and left a huge gap in the women's rights fight, which is prevalent in Pakistan, and women have not been able to really take care of their rights, or they have not been able to acquire equality with their menfolk. To talk about achievements of Asma Jahangir and the void left behind her, we have with us Mr. Raza Rumi, who is a senior journalist, and he teaches at Cornell Institute of Public Affairs, and he teaches public policy, and he's also editor with Daily Times in Pakistan. He is contacting us from US. Hi Raza, how are you?
Hi there, thank you.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you well, thank you.
So how have you been feeling about Ms. Jahangir's physical departure?
It has been a very turbulent months, I'd say, because in early February, Asma Jahangir passed away, and it was one of the most shocking, unexpected events because she was such an important and major presence in the lives of Pakistanis and even South Asia, I would extend to that, with her sort of fearless advocacy of human rights, of picking up issues that others would not dare to, and also achieving along the way a lot of successes in terms of holding the state institutions to account, in getting the right verdicts for the poor and the marginalized communities in Pakistan, and of speaking the truth and truth to power. So it has been a big void, to be honest, and I really hope that others will jump in and fill in, because at the moment it seems that she will be missed, and she's still being missed sorely.
I mentioned something about Hudud Ordinance. Would you like to tell our viewers what is this Hudud Ordinance in Pakistan and how it is marring the status of women's rights in Pakistan?
So Hudud ordinances are basically, so-called Sharia-inspired legal doctrines and laws passed under the dictatorship of General Ziaul Haq during the 1980s, when he was trying to Islamicize the country. And it was to change Pakistan into a kind of an Islamic state. He introduced all these laws. Some of them are very controversial. Many Islamic experts say that they're not even quote-unquote Islamic. So Asma was at the forefront of a women's movement in the early 1980s, along with other women activists and leaders who challenged Ziaul Haq, because Ziaul Haq had banned political parties, had banned political assembly. So these women actually came out on the streets and challenged that, and that sparked off a whole movement for restoration of democracy in Pakistan. And among the Hudud laws, there was one, there is one appalling injunction in which a woman's testimony is considered to be half of that of man. And then some and more bizarre things like a rape victim has to, present 4 witnesses for that case to be, solid grounds for punishment to the culprit. So, these are the kind of bizarre things that were introduced in Pakistan, and people like Asma actually called out the generals and the politicians and the mullahs, saying that, we want a Pakistan which is more humane, democratic and secular, and which safeguards the rights of all its people, men, women and minorities and kids. So Asma had also a huge role in taking up the causes for juvenile offenders, of young prisoners, of prison reform, and most importantly, the bonded labor. Unfortunately, in South Asia, there are still these awful practices where labor are kept as, hostages and prisoners in brick kiln factories. And so she took up their cases, and she got to the court judgments, and which led to a whole change in the legal and administrative structure. Now, by and large, bonded labor is fast disappearing.
So, Ms. You have really given a good account on the Hudud Ordinance and what her activities towards protecting juvenile persons. What are her contributions to, as far as blasphemy laws in Pakistan are concerned? Because we see and hear so very often that people who have not committed a crime are considered to be committing a crime under the blasphemy laws. What is your take on that?
Yes, so again, this was the time. It all dates back to that era of 1980s when these horrific laws and injunctions were being passed and imposed on the people. So blasphemy laws were also kind of revised during that time period. And one of the many cases that actually brought Asma to global recognition was her advocacy for a teenage Christian young boy, and later many other such victims of these unjust blasphemy laws. Because you see, the blasphemy law, it was a colonial a legal injunction introduced by the British in the early part of the 20th century in India and Pakistan today to basically keep religious passions under control. But after independence, the Pakistani governments, especially under Ziaul Haq and later, they kept on adding more and more punishments under it and making it more and more vague and broad so that, it could attract anyone and everyone. And the Christian community, the Ahmadis, a sector from within Muslims who were declared as non-Muslims, they
even Shias, right?
Fire due to this law. So people like Asma Jahangir were not only taking up their cases and winning them, but also she remained a staunch advocate for amending and repealing this law.
Okay, so Governor of Punjab, actually, Salman Taseer, was murdered because he sided with the victims of blasphemy law, right?
That's right. That's right. In 2011, and incidentally, the paper that I edit was actually founded by Governor Taseer, and he had picked up the cause of a Christian woman who still languishes in jail. And there was apparently some petty dispute in her village, and she was, to teach her a lesson. The whole issue of blasphemy was invoked by her rivals, and then she got a death sentence. And Salman Taseer was actually, advocating her cause and wanting not only that he was supporting her cause, but also wanted a change and a parliamentary debate on these laws. So that his questioning of blasphemy laws was interpreted as blasphemy by the mullahs. And one of his guards, who was a fanatic, actually shot him dead in January 2011. Thankfully, the Pakistani courts did sentence that guard, and he was punished last year. But the reality is that, this issue still remains. I mean, the laws remain on the statute. They are being misused. And, with people like Asma Jahangir gone, we have lost one of the champions for religious freedom and for stopping the abuse of such problematic laws.
So Asma Jahangir has done a lot to protect the innocent victims. What is the present state of Pakistan vis-a-vis these laws?
So the present state is that, recently the Senate, which is the upper house in Pakistan, they have come up with some recommendations on how to improve and stop the abuse of this law. So that's kind of a little hopeful sign. But unfortunately, the political climate in Pakistan is such that religion is always used for political ends, right from the start of Pakistan's existence. And, blasphemy law and things related to the glory of Islam or such vague terminology is always a political instrument. So political rivals accuse each other of being blasphemous. The military in the past has also booked people under blasphemy. So it has been a rather problematic and intractable issue. But there are voices which are challenging and improving.
So Hina Jilani, Asma Jahangir's sister, was visiting Toronto. So my next question is, what kind of void she has left behind, and who is going to fill that gap? Is it going to be her sister or her daughters or the rest of the women in Pakistan?
Well, I mean, first of all, you mentioned Hina Jilani, who is also a leading lawyer and a human rights advocate in Pakistan. So, Hina Jilani and Asma have been together in this struggle. And, Hina, of course, is not only that Hina takes up all these causes, she also runs Pakistan's first center for women's shelter for victims of domestic violence and battered women, etc. It's called Dustak. It's based in Lahore. So if your viewers or listeners want to contribute, they must, contribute to such a good initiative. So, and of course, Asma has two amazingly bright daughters. One of them is a trained lawyer, the other is a very prominent journalist. So they obviously are carrying and will definitely carry the mission of God. But Asma also, created two major institutions in Pakistan with others, of course. One is Human Rights Commission of Pakistan, and the other is this all-women law firm called AGHS.
Okay.
It's a legal aid center, and not only that she created these organizations, but she trained hundreds and hundreds of activists, lawyers, and other people. So she has a formidable legacy, and it will be a collective effort to take it forward.
Okay, now it was so good to hear from you, Raza, and particularly Asma Jahangir. I've never met with her. I've always wanted to meet with her because I was a part of Track to Diplomacy a long time ago between Pakistan and India. Thank you very much for your time, Raza, and we will catch up with you later. Bye-bye.
Okay, welcome, and always a pleasure.
We were talking to Mr. Raza Rumi, who is a lecturer at Cornell Institute of Public Affairs, and he is also the editor of Daily Times. In more news, I'd like to give a tribute to the renowned physicist Stephen Hawking, who has died and has definitely created a black hole around our lives. The renowned physicist discovered black holes in the universe and believed in asking questions. His famous take on questioning the universe led to many discoveries. Power Dilemmas wanted to pay a tribute to this great scientist. And folks, it's the power of curiosity and asking questions which helps democracies, helps citizens, and helps the voters. Ask questions about your rights in our beautiful democratic country of Canada and play your full role as its citizens. With more next week, I would like to sign off from Power Dilemmas. Take care and ciao.